Welcome to Don't Say Adulting,
A podcast by Grotto Network.
hosted by Jane O'Connor.
And Mike Rossetti.
It's the show where I ask the questions that I want to know.
And also, I'm here too. I don't wanna say it.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to Don't Say Adulting.
Don't say adulting.
I'm Jane O'Connor.
I am Mike Rossetti.
Michael, his Christian name.
Is one of them, yes.
And this is the show where we talk about young...
Scatting.
No. On the show, we like to address the problems that young people might be facing in their first time on their own, out in the world.
Yep. Nothing they can't overcome, though.
Yeah, I'm a recent college grad myself, so these are all things that I am, encountering as I go about my day.
And I'm 10 years out.
He's 10 years out.
All figured out.
He's got some street wisdom.
That's why I've moved on to trying to master scat. Now that I have scat.
But I decided Mike is not enough. And I also need a guest every episode.
They keep it interesting,
yeah.
I mean,
and today we're talking about personal finance.
Or
how do
money.
How do you save money at such a young age?
Money.
When I feel like all my money is kind of,
spent
paycheck comes in.
Marie Callender's pies.
On Marie Callender frozen chicken pot pies.
Oh, Marie.
Yes, Mike is referencing the fact that I recently burned myself on a Marie Callender chicken pot pie.
Is that trademarked? Do we need to run that by somebody?
We can mention it. We just can't,
we just can't sing it.
Sing the song.
We can't
sing the Marie Callender. It goes like January.
Eat my pot pies. Marie Callender.
See, that you can trademark.
Okay.
But yes, as soon as that happened, I felt so sad and ashamed that I went home and I cooked a salmon to make
a whole salmon.
A whole salmon.
But you didn't do that. You bought a filleted.
I bought a fillet.
Boned.
Yeah.
Scaleless.
Have you ever deboned a salmon?
I've deboned everything. No, I actually haven't. I was born deboning salmon, I was born in the wilderness of Washington, Seattle, really.
Yeah.
But
I do spend probably too much money on food, like prepared and going out and not making my own food. So I'm sure that's one hack.
Yeah,
that we
imagine
can,
the cents you could save if you just would forget about
make my own chicken pot pies.
Be your own Marie Callender.
Yeah.
Be your own Mrs. Callender.
Do you have any hot tips for money?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me for.
Are you already saving?
Yes, I am saving. I have a savings account.
That's nice.
That is, I'm sure, substantially large to some, but incredibly small to others, depending who asks. I have money.
Nice.
that I've accumulated over.
When did you start saving?
I don't know if I've always had a savings account.
Since you were a wee child?
Yes. I was a very responsible child. I always put money in the bank,
Nice.
But,
really?
Yeah.
Good for you.
But I was a teacher, so a Catholic school teacher in Chicago, wasn't able to save a ton of money. And then I was a grad student. And then
no money.
Yeah. So I guess though I've probably been saving since my mid-20s.
Okay.
Actively.
Okay. And are you on track? I don't know actually how this all works. This could be great for our guest, but are you on track, as they say?
That's a good question. As the pandemic showed, most Americans don't have enough money to enough savings to make it past a month, right?
I guess I didn't.
So I think that was an issue. Kevin, can you remember that? Was that an issue during the pandemic, right?
It seems like one of the many
people
issues.
Couldn't last a month past the pandemic. Right, yeah. Sorry, that's true.
No, that wasn't a...
Yeah, you're like, come on, Mike, there's a lot of problems. We're not all just eating Marie Callender's pies here. No. But I'm not in that situation, but in no capacity am I
I feel like I always see those quizzes not quizzes online, but commercials that'll be they ask people when do they think the right age to start saving is, and it's always the earliest age that they suggest.
I think it's right away, right? No, I think that's true. I think that is, you got to put some money away for yourself, you know? But, right, and you want to, the unfairness of life, I suppose, is expensive,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you use any software or spreadsheets or anything?
I use a spreadsheet,
okay.
But that is a relatively late 20s, early 30s
innovation.
Yeah, I learned how to insert a function.
Nice.
Actually, I did learn. I learned that in high school.
Did you have a finance class in high school?
No. Well, I took economics, and I think my teacher kind of made that personal finance-y. We actually watched a film in which
was it a Schoolhouse Rock one?
Well, no. Well, yeah, but no. We watched one where it was like just basically talking about like the amount of college students who get into trouble with credit card debt. So I think I was really spooked.
Kind of scared straight.
I actually didn't have a credit card until my later 20s.
Okay.
I just used my debit, which look, it wasn't the smartest thing.
Yeah. Well, because then there's benefits to having a credit
right.
and paying
if you're
that
responsible,
back and,
yes. I mean, totally. I think I got so spooked that I was like, who needs a credit card? But then it's like, I wasn't building credit.
That's when my parents got me on early. They were like, you should get a credit card. You should have this.
And it was yours?
Yes, that you pay off.
Yeah.
And that is attached to your name so that you can build credit.
Yeah. I'm
scared to get a second credit card. That scares me. Even though my bank, well, not my bank, but my credit card company does suggest that can increase your credit score if you are keeping track.
Of course they're saying that. Hey, if you keep spending money with us, we'll, please, they're not looking out for you.
And I trust my credit card company. They seem very nice.
Who do you use? Like friendlycredit.com?
Yeah, my mom and pop credit.
I don't know. I mean, like when people are hustling, they take more credit cards.
Yeah, this could be a question for the guest today.
But I would like to answer it.
Okay. Do you have an answer? Do you have 2 credit cards?
No, I have 1.
Okay.
Watch
our guest have like 5.
She's like, you got to work the point system for sure. I mean, if Kristen says that, I'll question her.
Okay.
But I'll listen to her,
Yeah, today we are talking to Professor of Finance at Notre Dame, Kristen Collett-Schmitt. She's very kindly agreed to join us.
Very kind.
Help us with our money troubles, our many money troubles.
Wish you would pitch it differently. It's not like
I'm in so much trouble with the IRS.
Okay, everyone.
I'm not.
You're totally eroding your credibility, Jane, by the second. Like you're going from someone I can relate to, like, whoa, you sound reckless. Like, what are you doing with your money?
No. But I am someone who I do feel
quite... I had a friend who told me to buy a bunch of Turkish carpets, so I did. Like, what? I mean, Jesus. Get a life, Jan.
No, I am. I'm not in trouble yet, but I am someone, I do feel kind of clueless when it comes...
on the cusp of crime?
No.
Like, what are we talking about here?
No, but I feel a little clueless when it comes to, like, taking out loans, paying off loans.
Have you taken a loan out?
No, I have not.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, you got something to learn here today.
So yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit.
Not even in college?
No.
Wow.
My college tuition was pretty low.
That's very nice.
It kind of determined where I went to school, so.
Wow, that's helpful.
But yeah, so I feel a little clueless, and what should I take a loan out for? What's dangerous? What should I be wary of, essentially?
Probably not for that like $2,000 Razor scooter you were looking at.
Well, and also budgeting. I don't currently. Here's a secret. I don't currently budget.
All right, I do know this one, and I hope I am affirmed by Kristen when she gets here. Mm-hmm. 50, 30, 20. 50% towards your needs, 30 towards entertainment, whatever that is to you, and then 20 towards savings.
Okay,
every month.
Nice.
Is what I'm operating off.
Okay.
Of.
Well, we'll come back. We'll talk to Kristen. We'll see how this holds up to her professional strategy. And we'll be right back with Don't Say Adulting.
Don't say it.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Hello. Welcome back to Don't Say Adulting. We are now here. We are now joined by our very special guest, Kristen Collett-Schmitt, professor of finance at Notre Dame. And she's here to help us with our finance problems that we were just discussing.
Or question. You're making it sound like we're both like financial train wrecks and somewhat responsible.
But yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about what you do now, what your position is, what you're involved in on campus?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's good to be here. I'm an associate teaching professor of finance in the Mendoza College of Business. I'm also the associate dean for innovation and inclusion in Mendoza. Mostly teach economics. So my background is economics, microeconomics mostly, with specialties in law and economics education. So being a teaching professor here on campus, teaching a lot, my career is definitely focused on how to make economics more palatable, to improve economic literacy for my students, showing them that there are real world applications to economics outside of the classroom. So that's how I got involved with some other endeavors on campus. About maybe 10 years ago, we also started a financial literacy club for students on campus called lting, where we go out to the South Bend community and teach high school students about the basics of financial literacy. And that really stemmed from our students wanting to use their finance education to kind of grow the good in business, as we say in Mendoza.
Yes.
That's definitely something I think
really
I
cool.
missed in high school was a financial literacy.
Yeah,
same with me, honestly.
Yeah. So that is very cool. And I guess personal finance is the most micro of economics.
That's right.
Yeah. Truly getting micro.
Yeah.
On the micro.
Well, I had to take a microeconomics class in college, and that one did get a bit bigger than just my personal budgeting and everything.
I'd imagine,
but which is mostly what we're here to talk about today. Yeah. So, just to start off, we were talking about this before. What is a good age to start saving ideally? I guess as soon as possible is usually.
As soon as possible is the best. I think my question back to you, though, would be if you were to ask me when to start saving is, well, what are you saving for?
Jan?
I guess the first thing I always think of is retirement. That's the one that seems to be looming. Yeah. But I feel very young in the sense that seems far away unless...
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of trying to buy a higher end dog food for my like a house.
I was going to say house is the second thing that I would probably approach.
Sure.
Would you separate those in terms? I guess obviously you would separate.
Yeah. When I think about my own life, I really thought about the decision to buy a house more with respect to where I was in terms of stability. So for me, it was about, my goal, I wanted to get a Ph.D., get a job. And then I felt like a lot of things could come from that because finishing my Ph.D. created some stability. So even if I didn't have, enough saved, I'll say, quote unquote, enough saved for a house, I had enough for a down payment. I know that I could make my mortgage. And that was enough for me to make that decision. For retirement, I just thought about it differently, is that, the earlier I start, the more that stability could last and then more, right? This idea that, I could enjoy a certain type of lifestyle or I could have, or provide for my family in a different way the earlier that I start. I also just knew that just starting earlier was smarter, even if I decided to change careers or there were some unexpected changes in my life. Yeah. So
with saving for retirement, do you mean, literally just putting this money into a savings account, or is that into something else?
When I think about retirement, I think about, I have a job that I think I'm going to be with for a while. I open my 401k. I take advantage of the fact that my employer might be matching my contributions, try to pick in a contribution that kind of matches my current income level and then reevaluate over time. And so, I think that the best time to do it is when you're in a position where your employer can match that contribution.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you can't start earlier if you don't have that, though.
Yeah, I was about to say, for people who maybe are not in full-time employment or might be a while before they've really settled into a job they think they're going to stick with, are there ways to start already setting aside money within your budget?
Sure. Yeah. Savings accounts are one way to do that. But even something like a Roth IRA, it just matters what you might need to do with that money in the case of an emergency. So you don't want to put money into a Roth IRA that you don't, that you need in case of an emergency.
Okay.
Whereas a savings account might be something in case of I lose my job, I face a disability. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So for me, a savings is more like I need to have that on hand in case my life changes in an unexpected way. And I tend to think of a savings as I need to have at least 3 times my monthly income.
Okay.
And then once I can secure that, then I can start thinking about investing or retirement or other savings choices that might be yielding some income.
Okay. I was going to ask about...
Well, what were... Okay,
I was going to ask about the... This is okay. I was going to ask about how a Roth IRA works.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. We were thinking the same
These
way.
are terms that scare me.
This is me and Jane's question. So.
Yeah, I think I all I know about a Roth IRA is that it generates investment income, right?
Okay.
So you put it away, you earn an interest income off of it. It's a little bit more than what you would earn from a savings account. And you need to commit keeping the money in that account for a while.
Okay. And that's why it's not accessible for.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask what's the consequence of touching if you need it?
Yeah.
Well, there are some tax implications too.
Okay.
And then, so the way that it's reported on your tax, your taxes at the end of the year would be a little bit different versus a savings account, which is there's very little of that that's reported.
So it seems to be more of a money grower where you're like, I don't need this money. And
absolutely.
It'll
where a savings account is you can grow your money by a small amount, but it's readily available if you need it.
Right.
Okay. Well, in terms of shifting a little to budgeting in a sense, Mike was talking about his rule for budgeting.
So I'm operating off of a 50, 30, 20. So 50% when trying. I just moved to Chicago. So 50% towards net needs, I guess, bills and everything.
I was about to say Netflix. I was like,
my Netflix account.
That's a lot.
Let's talk about that a little
30,
bit.
Yeah, I actually lowered my Netflix. I just decided no to the $9 one a month, but 30% on
smart budgeting.
Right? That's where I'm saving where I can. 30% for entertainment, I guess, or travel or whatever, and then 20% towards savings.
Yeah, that's kind of like the golden rule.
Okay.
Okay.
I was
is it
wondering,
golden in your eyes, or is it silver?
I'm just wondering, should I follow in his footsteps,
Yeah, I think that's right. I think, the 30% for discretionary is important. There's a lot of research around how budgeting has such a negative connotation, and because it makes you feel like there's not a lot of freedom. It just feels very restrictive. It creates a kind of the opposite of a growth mindset, more of a restrictive mindset. And so not a lot of people like to talk about budgeting, but if you talk about budgeting in terms of, we're setting aside at least this much, 30% to discretionary things, the things that make us happy, like that's a way to think more positively about the way that you use your money. And I think 50, 30, 20 is a good approach.
Yeah.
It seems like this applies to a lot where people say this with like workouts or new habits or diets is to give yourself a lot of room. Otherwise it seems unsurmountable, negative, and not really.
Yeah. I mean, you give yourself a lot of room, but I mean, I'm an economist, so I'm always going to say everything's scarce. So I think it's also important to think of your income as limited. And so then your spending necessarily has to be limited as well.
Yeah.
I have this very terrible strategy now where I don't really look at my bank account.
Oh,
and
dear,
I just
Jan.
So that would be the opposite of what I would suggest.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. I mean, one of the most interesting things I learned from even my own students at Notre Dame is that when I say, have you ever looked at your expenses? The answer is no. So then they do as a result of me asking the question. It's just so much is revealed simply by looking at what you spend. I think the number one way to budget is to track. So even if you're not doing 50, 30, 20, being aware of what you're spending and what you're spending on, and then what of that is reoccurring, what of that is predictable is a really solid way to get started.
Do you have any recommendations for like programs or tools that someone could use because I don't track anything now.
So I do track, and I just use a spreadsheet, and I just insert things in the categories. And then the formula kind of figures it out. But
I think that's a way to do it. Do you have like a banking app?
I do.
Yeah, I think most banking apps have a tool within the app to do that for you. There's also lots of tools out there. I don't have one that I would recommend. Definitely not one that I would endorse. But it's just the habit of tracking, even if it's like in your notes app on your iPhone.
It always seems so scary, very like a moment of looking in the mirror and being like, really?
It's kind of like once you get, for me anyway, it's been like once I get into this groove of it, it does kind of just like change the way you're thinking and like, and just, I guess, being realistic with yourself and like what is in your ability of.
Yeah. It's kind of like exercising it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, once you do it. And the other thing that I think is, how budgeting can be similar to many other habits that we have is having someone to support you.
Okay. Like an accountability partner.
Yes. Yeah. Well, because and especially someone that might have lived through, some of this.
Like Michael.
Maybe, right. And so they're asking you if you're tracking. You can ask them if they're tracking. You can ask what you've learned or what you might do differently. But yes, the support, especially because, as I said, budgeting can have kind of a negative mindset associated with it, but the support helps.
My coworkers were a bit aghast when I told them I don't really know how much money I have in my bank account.
Yeah, something to keep tabs on. Amen. Just like
okay, so this is shifting a little bit, but we were also talking about this a little bit before the interview, related to personal finance and looking kind of down the road. How would you approach building credit at 23, 24?
We were talking about, so in high school, my econ teacher scared the living daylights out of us by showing us that, like, some video where it's like, this college student took out 3 credit cards and died. So it was like, so I didn't get a credit card till I was in my till I was 26 because I was just like, burp. And Jane's like, oh.
That was one thing my parents did actually recommend really early on. I think as soon as my freshman year of college, they were like, you should get a credit card so you can build credit and, for future loans. And I don't really understand.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. It's a little counterintuitive, but to build your credit, you need to accumulate debt. Not any amount of debt and not just debt, right? Debt that is probably no more than, say, 30 to 40% of your, the ratio to your income, right? So there is a kind of a number in that respect to keep in mind.
That's good to know.
What's the number? The ratio?
Like 30 to 40%
okay.
debt to income.
Okay. And is this something where, right, we were also talking about this, my credit card company kind of shows your score and then has ways in which you can improve it.
Yeah.
So even some of those ways scare me. One of them is getting another credit card.
Sure. Yeah.
Is there, this also is part of the horror story.
Like, no.
Yeah, because I've seen these horror stories where people have, dozens of credit cards and like a ton of credit card debt. Is this, I don't know, would you have a number for that even, or a limit, or?
No, I think the main thing that opening a credit card does is establishes payment history.
Okay.
So I think if you have one credit card and then you have a history of paying that off in a timely way, then that is sufficient to start building your credit.
Okay.
So I like to think about, when I open credit cards, I try not to open credit cards that serve the same purpose.
Okay.
Right. So that's where, like, someone having a bunch of credit cards may be kind of making mistakes. So I like to think about, I've got a credit card for, gas when I travel, like all my travel expenses, for example, or for Christmas presents when I'm incurring a bunch of expenses all at one time.
Yeah. Is this also where, like, certain business, like Costco? I think my parents have like a Costco.
Yes, I have
American
a Costco
Express,
card.
right?
Yeah. Well, and so where you start differentiating, there's lots of options for those types of cards, but where you start differentiating is like, what sort of perks do you get, which kind of offsets the cost of having the card.
Yeah.
Right. So in the case of the Costco card, it's, you get money back on your Costco purchases. You might, when you travel, like, this is why I use that card for my travel, is that you get money back on gas and hotels and meals and stuff like that. And so I intentionally use that card for those expenses because it essentially lowers the cost of having that card.
Okay. Do you think at this age, though, one seems sufficient? I don't know if that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think the other kind of cards that you might consider having, if you wanted to say have 2 to see how that could affect your credit, is there a store that you frequent? Right. So, for
like
me,
Target,
Target would be one, or like for me, it was always the Gap because
classic.
Because you could use it at all their stores, right?
Okay.
And that was me. I was a new professional. I was buying my clothes there. I ended up buying my kids' clothes there. So it was like my go-to place where I wasn't accumulating tons of debt, but I could easily pay it off pretty frequently. And I knew I was always going to shop there.
Okay.
Right. So I think Target would be a good one because you can use that for multiple different purchases, not just clothes. But
I actually have a question. So I have one credit card. It's a Chase Ultimate, or I think so, or MasterCard or whatever. No, it's Chase's. I can't remember what it is right now, but
it's a credit card.
I pay it off all right away, like as soon as I get my first bill, and I keep getting. I keep, like, my credit's like not necessarily like increasing.
Yeah.
Is it because I'm so responsible? It's just like
So it's that debt to income ratio, I think, that they're looking for you to have. So it's just counterintuitive, but they like you to have a little bit of a not a zero ratio.
I've also heard when you open up a new credit card, you take an immediate hit, right?
Yeah, and I don't know exactly what the formula is, but if you check your score a lot, and even if you like get inquiries on your card frequently, that can reduce.
Okay. So, is this why those Credit Karma ads are always like, won't reduce your score to check?
Yeah, yes, exactly.
So should I basically only pay off 70% on my credit card a month? Is that the thought?
Well, So I think what you need to do is like, again, I'm an economist, cost benefit
hear it.
analysis.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you are paying to keep that balance in the form of interest. Right. So I would say that if you're actually, paying more every month than your budget allows, because you're paying that interest just to keep that ratio, then I think you should pay it off.
Okay. So it's just interesting that each time I check my credit, it's like plateauing or like slightly.
Well, sometimes I'm doing
what?
nothing and I check it and it's like kind of lower, and I just assume it has something to do with the economy. I have no idea.
Well, you want to diversify what your debt is like as well. So I mean, I own a home. Like if you own a car, if you have student loans, like those all appear on my credit report.
Okay.
So it's not just credit cards.
Okay.
Yeah.
This actually kind of goes into another question. Mm-hmm. You mentioned taking out loans. If you're paying back loans currently, like let's say student loans, is it wise or is it okay to take out another loan for a car or for a house or something? How should you manage that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on what your income stream is like, and then how solid you are for your savings, right? So, because those are alternatives. If you're going to have to now dedicate money that you would have been saving otherwise, that's fine, as long as you have your so many months stashed for an emergency, right? So if you feel like your emergency fund is good, or maybe you can still keep saving, maybe not the same amount that you did before, then it's fine to take on a new loan. If you feel like your income is steady or that it might be increasing, then absolutely, it would be fine to take another loan. I think in general, you have to realize like what does your life absolutely need right now? It kind of comes down to some of the stuff I talked to my 3-year-old about, like needs and wants, right? At some point, a new car, even though you have student loans, that's going to be a need, right? And you can make some sacrifices from your discretionary, your 30% of your budget to put towards the car, right? You can find ways to cut back to because it's a need. Now, would I recommend using your money for, say, investment income, like investing in a stock? Probably not if you've got loans and you anticipate having new loans in the future. Okay. Because that is, I feel, like something that should come later after you've taken care of the necessary spending that you have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does seem like it would eventually be kind of a lot of juggling of.
Yeah. So you would just buy the things you need and then look into the investing realm?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was like I had a student loan. My husband has student loans. And we just decided we weren't going to do any investing until we paid that student loan off, because we knew that was going to be around for a while. It was never going to go away. I mean, now some of our loans might go away for different changes in laws, but but I mean, we predicted it would be there. We knew it would be there. I said, okay, we're going to tackle that first, and then shift whatever money we were paying in our student loans to now an investment.
Okay.
And now our budget, no impact on our budget, but our income grows in the future.
Right.
Okay.
Jane, and things to think about.
I know. Well, investing is another thing that scares me. And I don't know how much, your expertise falls into this. And this might just come from your daily life of investing, which, do you do any investing? Sorry, this is...
not... Yes and no.
Okay. Because this is something I also hear about that I know nothing about. I don't know anything about like the stock market or how to read these things. And like with this current job, it was like, here are these bundles. And I was like, okay, yes, press these buttons.
I'm the type of person that says, here's my money, invest for me.
Okay.
With my 401k, I'm like...
You don't
no. And what I tell my students, I don't teach about investing. That's not my specialty. But when students ask me about making investment choices, I say it's all about what you personally want to do, what your goals are, what you want to accomplish, and what type of risk you can bear. For me, I am a risk averse person, and I do not get any pleasure from picking stocks.
From playing the game.
Yeah, some people do, right? And so if you're that type of person, you can go out there, pick the stocks you want, individually invest in stocks. Or if you just want to invest in a portfolio that is lower risk, maybe in the case of a retirement account, you want one that reflects your age and where you are in your life, like that seems more bearable to me.
Yeah. And this is something I was confused on before on your 401k. Those dates, that's like your estimated retirement.
That's
date,
right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you can stick it out a little longer, you'll be even better off.
Okay. Because that scared me, because it was like, oh, it's a higher risk one, but you're going to be investing longer, so it's okay. And that just like didn't compute for me. for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm also quite risk averse.
Right. But it also assumes that you're still contributing in 20 years what you're contributing now, when in reality, just like a lot of other things that you invest in or that you pay, like that amount will update with your income over time. Okay. Like for me, like right now, I would say the part of the reason why I'm risk averse is that I have a young family. So I don't want to take a lot of risks to put them in jeopardy, their future. I want to save for my kids to go to college. Once I'm an empty nester, like maybe my risk changes a lot and then I start contributing different things.
Yeah.
It's like buy risky stocks.
Yeah, right.
Casinos,
exactly. Here we go.
Like, move to Monaco.
After the stress of the kids are gone, you're like, I need that stress. So it's like keep me going.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good point. But so in actuality, you'll probably change your contribution as your life changes, and then that will change your target date or what you might get at that target date.
Okay. Are there any common mistakes that I can avoid now? That might be too late for Mike, but
but maybe
common like pitfall, money pitfalls or mistakes that people make at my age when thinking about budgeting. It seems like I'm making a mistake by not logging into my bank.
Tracking. Yeah. Yeah. Tracking definitely is like, I think the most
that's beyond tracking. That's like being an ostrich.
Not ignoring.
Getting one of those little birds that like.
Yeah. Gosh.
Yeah. And I think, so, and then you need to be thinking about what type of expenses you have. So, whether they're fixed or variable, whether they're reoccurring, because if you have an expense that doesn't happen every month, those months when you're not making that payment is a month to save, right? So thinking about the occurrences and what the next best thing you can do with that money would be like another level of tracking that doesn't always take place. And then on the income side, I think it's important to consider how the macro variables might affect your budget. And this may not be so obvious, except for the fact that we just went through a pandemic and then are now experiencing inflation that has affected everyone's budget, right? In maybe unpredictable ways. And so, can you necessarily control everything that's happening to our budgets right now? No, because there's a lot of these macro factors affecting income. So just not forgetting that not everything isn't within your control. And that's why you need to put in some safeguards like a savings account to control for that.
And tracking. Looking at your bank account.
Well, the pandemic thing was interesting because I was coming into the workforce then. So for me, I was like, grocery prices have always been this high because now that I'm
setting up or...
and now gas is going down. I'm like, wow, this is so crazy. It's so low.
I know. Yeah. Well, and for me, it's been interesting because during like the pandemic proper, like when we were isolated at home, I was saving so much money because I wasn't traveling and my expenses were significantly different. My kids weren't doing any activities after school. And so then I was like, wow, I felt like I was in a different place in life, and then boom, inflation. And then it's all it's been kind of a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And then how do we account for that? That's why that evaluation and the tracking can be helpful for that to make some predictions in an unpredictable world. Yeah.
Know the future. Another hack.
Yeah.
No,
read a crystal ball.
Invest in a crystal ball.
Yes. So you'd say big things for people getting out into the world after college would be obviously saving, knowing your budget, tracking what you're spending. I guess knowing getting your 401k set up, it sounds like.
Yeah. And I think related to that is goal setting. Really thinking about what your goals are. And it's fine for the goals to change a lot over time. But when I think about my own life, how, what I was saving for has changed. I mean, it started out to be like, just discretionary, for leisure time, to now, I was someone without any kids. Now I have 2 kids, and now I want to retire and live on the beach or something. Right? Like my goals have changed so much over time that those goals should actually be directing how you use your funds and how you're saving.
Yeah. So this might be looking too far in the future, but I don't think you can look too far in the future. What do they actually recommend for retirement, essentially. Like, how should you, like, how much, this sounds, I don't even know if there's probably no magic number and it totally depends, but how much should you have saved by the time you're not working anymore?
Yeah. I mean, so when I talk to my financial advisor, he basically says, look, like, do you want to have the same type of lifestyle you have now, or do you want a better one or a different one? Right. So for me, it's all about relative to where you are now. And if you'd be satisfied with the same level of income. So it's hard to tell. Again, it's like you said, it's so far into the future. Yeah. And I think like, wow, the same money that I'm earning now with, without commuting every day to work and without having my kids being the age that they are, like things will be really different. Maybe it is an improvement in my lifestyle.
Yeah.
But for me, it's always been where again, your goal setting, what your life to be, your quality of life to be, and use where you are now as a comparison if you can.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll think my life is too good. I'll be like, I need the struggle. I want a slightly lower
so that's like
quality of life.
People who...
And then, well, I know also, I mean, this is totally getting off track here, but a lot of people plan even for, retiring by a certain age, getting that pension, and then maybe even re-entering a separate workforce. Or I guess, so it just totally depends on what your hobbies are. Are they
I guess
expensive?
where you live too, like, I mean, how much do you actually need to survive at a certain point?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
On, that's very different.
It seems so vague, looking into
life is just
retirement.
It's been interesting for me to see my own parents go through the retirement process. My dad retired. He worked for the airlines. And so post 9/11, he took an early retirement package because it was a very stressful industry.
Yeah.
Probably still is. But then at the time it was. My mom's a nurse and is still working.
Okay.
And so to me, it's been interesting to see like why my mom has chosen to stay. She's, very committed to the type of work that she does and can't see herself doing anything different.
Yeah.
Well, where my dad has taken on a new career doing like he's a bartender.
Yeah.
He likes
cool.
because he realized that it's the people connections that he really liked. Right.
Yeah.
So he started it was not really a career. It's just actually something that it's fun to do.
Yeah.
But I can't convince my mom that she has any hobbies or that she wants to do something different. It's been, and my brothers and I, it's kind of a struggle. It's like, this is when you do it. Like, you don't have to worry about anything else. You don't have to work. Enjoy this, the savings, the retirement that you have. And so, and would she have predicted that that's what she would have been like now? I don't know. Like when she was my age, I don't think she would have known that about herself.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Well, I think we mostly covered the topics that I was looking at. Is there something major we missed?
Yeah. Any other pearls of wisdom?
No, I mean, I just think that one kind of interesting piece of research that I've come across when I talk to students about financial literacy is the impact of giving back and kind of considering that part of your budget.
Okay.
So there's a statistic and I can read it.
Yeah.
Individuals that spend $5 on someone else reported being happier than those that spent up to $20 on themselves.
Okay. So this is like giving monetary or not investment, but like charity essentially. Yeah,
like should the 50, 30, 20 in some aspect, maybe it's the 20, maybe it's the 30, be donations, right? To something that's important to you, because there's these side effects to doing that.
Yeah.
Like psychological side effects.
I give $20 every week to church.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, I mean, in Mendoza, we talk we're really, obviously we instill in our students the importance of growing their personal wealth, but kind of what's at the tail end of that is like, once you have that established, once you have that established, you're in a better position to give back to others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the big, money can't buy happiness.
As they say.
Although this is suggesting that a little bit of money can
right.
$5 can get you $20 worth of happiness. No, I think that's an important thing to consider, because for me, it feels like something that I don't really think about right now. Being young, it's like, I gotta really focus on what I'm saving for, what my needs are, and charities for old people. No, I'm kidding. I don't actually think that.
There's definitely, there's times in our lives when the trade-off is more obvious than others. But if you look at like some of the financial literacy curriculum, even at like the grade school level, like junior achievement, for example, I teach junior achievement for kindergarten students. And
cool.
The donations are like a key part of their the way that they suggest that kids would save.
Yeah, I know this is probably just a fraction of what the actual effects of donating to charity, but I did start giving $5 a month to my friend's Patreon for his podcast, and it did feel kind of adult and nice.
You're sort of bragging
to support. It's not that much money, but
no, it's something.
Now I know that I'm getting $20 worth of.
Well, hey, how about you take a look at your bank account?
Was that a good decision?
Is there any left now that you've given us
been supporting this recreational podcast?
Yes. Yeah. God almighty.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and answering our financial questions.
Thank you.
And please keep tuning in to Don't Say Adulting.
Don't say it.
For this hard-hitting financial advice and other advice. I've been Jane O'Connor.
I'm Mike Rossetti.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Ciao, ciao. Don't Say Adulting is a Grotto Network podcast produced by Jane O'Connor, Mike Rossetti, Kevin DeClute, and Josh Long. Additional production and editing done by Kevin DeClute. Graphics and animation by Becky Rogers. Grotto Network is Director Javi Zubizarreta, Senior Producer Josh Long, Senior Content Editor Jesse McCartney, Art Director Becky Rogers, Senior Manager for Community Engagement Mike Rossetti, Social Media Manager Adrian Garaldi, Web Content Strategist Michaela Douglas, Producer Kevin DeClute, Associate Producer Jane O'Connor. Special thanks to our guest and Notre Dame Studios.